And now, live from Level 5 Productions on the island of Milleronia, it's The Larry Miller Show. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and everyone who's always wanted his own drinking holiday. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Larry Miller Show. I'm Larry Miller, but in a way, aren't we all? And boy, oh boy, speaking of drinking holidays, it's a beautiful day here on Milleronia, and I love it like that. Yes, I know I've said this before, but it's true. I control the weather here on Milleronia. Well, I control everything on Milleronia, but I control the weather, and the weather people make it just the way I like it, just the way you'd like it too. And, it's just beautiful here today. And as always, the music makes me so happy. That's the Edgar Buchanan Orchestra and the Nancy Culp Dancers, featuring boy tenor Mike Lucking, asking the musical question, why does God let good people go to meetings? Good question, Mike. And by the way, just to explain, folks, that Colonel Jeff and I assume he means, meetings. Office meetings, Little League meetings, garden club meetings, PTA meetings, pointless meetings. Let's be honest. We can all get by without them. And while I understand that God has spent a lot of time over the years making the Grand Canyon and parting the Red Sea and having someone invent the hat, he could just flick one of his pinkies from his throne one of these days and cancel all meetings. How hard would that be? Let all the office folks take naps at their desks and everyone would be a lot happier. I would. And, but good question, Mike. Good going. Why does God let good people go to meetings? Well, he shouldn't. And let me just give you a tip of the hat here to, the great Edgar Buchanan and Nancy Culp. And there's a reason I'm mentioning those two, but boy, you know them both from so many things, so many wonderful movies, but also great TV shows. Edgar Buchanan, for instance, played Uncle Joe in Petticoat Junction. And I love that part of the song, the opening, and that's Uncle Joe, he's a-movin' kind of slow at the junction. And I just got up here in the studio, for instance, here on Milleronia, in stately Miller Manor 2, and I just went to wash up. You flick a little water behind the ears. Okay to pee. That's the main thing. And but as I stood up, I was thinking, wow, legs are getting sore, and I went to a clinic where they really put you through the sore routine on your legs. But by the way, that's not a complaint. You know, when your legs and your arms need those things, you know it. And you know it, for instance, when you're in a studio on Milleronia and stand up before the show. So that's when Colonel Jeff said, and that's Uncle Larry, he's a-moving kind of slow at his junction. At any rate, Edgar Buchanan is wonderful. And Nancy Culp, wow, she's so good. God bless her. Such a great actress. And also, in addition to many movies, you would know her perhaps best of all as playing Miss Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies. She was the banker, what's his name? That's right, Colonel Jeff pulled it, and that was out of his head, too. Mr. Drysdale. And Nancy Culp was Miss Hathaway, who always, of course, had a crush on Jethro. But everyone had a crush on Jethro. All the pretty girls in that whole area, boy, when they saw him, man! And they should. It was a wonderful part of that show. In any case, they're both in a movie that I'm going to be mentioning later. And they deserve that real tip of the hat. So with great fondness to Edgar and Nancy, there it is, and I'll mention them later. And now, that's right, it's time to hear Win Larry's Money update. I love that theme. I've said this before, but Colonel Jeff finds these things, and that's just great. And I don't know why. I don't know what that song means. I don't even know if you can call it a song. I guess it's a song, but you can hear the maracas shaking. And what does it mean? I don't know, but it makes me smile and it makes me laugh. And I hope the same for you, too. So here's the update on winning Larry's money. My money. Boy, I just had an image of me doing one of those dancing things like a Mexican dance yourself, where you're moving your hips and you're wearing those tight toreador pants, and of course the sombrero, the big hat, and I just always wanted to play one of those way too thick guitars. Now I know that, well, God bless them, they know what they're doing in their music groups there. But there's one guy in every one of those groups whose guitar is way too thick. It seems like about a foot thick. But in any case, the update is we have a lot of good guesses coming in, and I want to let you know we're open for business, open for voting till May 10th. And so come on, all you folks who haven't done it, go to the website and to everything Colonel Jeff has set up to see that pile of change and take a guess, because whoever gets closest to it, never mind, maybe even right on it, wins the money, and we will ship it out to you, no matter where it is. Although, as I've already mentioned, it's just going to be in the continental United States. Well, and Alaska and Hawaii, too. But, I mean, we're not going to send it halfway around the world, where the cost of getting it there is far more than the actual money itself. In any case, though, come on, folks. Join the fun and take a guess. And who knows, it may be you who gets a call. Now, we haven't even decided yet. Should we call the winner or go there like Ed McMahon with the Publishers Clearinghouse check, the giant check, 8 feet long and 4 feet wide, and you ring the boom, boom, you actually knock on someone's door or ring the bell, and the woman or the man comes on, look, did I win? And, it's great. Hey, Colonel Jeff just had a great idea. He said, or we'll put all the change in a sock and hit you with it. That's something you wouldn't forget. So that years after that, your friends and relatives could say, so how's the jaw? Well, it's much better. It's getting much better. So in any case, come on, folks, join the parade, join the fun, and guess, and maybe you'll win Larry's money. Oh, that tickles me. And who doesn't like to be tickled? Actually, I don't like to be tickled, to be honest. I mean, I don't like practical jokes pulled on me, and I've never liked that. Hey, look at that! It turns out to be a snake. Oh, terrific! Thank you. But I mean, I don't need anything. No practical jokes and no tickling. Tickling isn't fun. You laugh only because you don't know what to do. But in any case, folks, join the party and take a guess. And buy Amazon. That's right. Amazon's still one of our favorite companies on earth, because Amazon, number one, they can get you anything you want, whatever you can just imagine, they can get for you, except, of course, an actual Amazon. And as I've mentioned before, if you ever get one of those, if the doorbell rings and it's not us with a giant check And instead, it's giant, muscular, beautiful Amazon. And you know what? Just don't get thrown. Don't get frightened. Call us immediately. And we'll come down, make sure you're fine. And we'll say hello to the Amazon and take care of her and get her to a place where the government, of course, can do research on her. After, well, the Colonel and I have done our research and make sure she knows she's got friends here at the Larry Miller Show. So in any case, Amazon does anything. And if you want to get to them, sure, you can get there through your laptop or your iPhone or anything at all, but come through us. Do that. We'll get you there. Go to our website, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the Mountain? Tom Mix. Oh, forgive me. I should have had the fish. But in any case, go through us. We have a banner on our website that says Amazon. Click our banner and then leave it to us. Click the banner and go sit down in your lazy boy chair and rock it back, put a magazine over your face, and take a nap, because we will get you to Amazon. So who's not happy with that? I am, Colonel Jeff is, Amazon is, and you are too. And that brings me to my favorite part of the show, the joke of the week. Boy, and this is a fun one too. The Colonel found this on the internet on a good joke site, and I remembered it too from being a kid and seeing a comedian in the Catskills tell it. And I remember giggling. I thought it was so funny. In any case, here it is. It's in the Old West, and two Westerners, two cowpokes, are riding along through the desert there, and they come up to, there's an Indian on the ground with his ear to the ground there, and one of the cowboys says to the other, "Hey, look at that! See that Indian? Only they can do this. He can tell anything just from the vibrations he gets through the ground." And they just clop up to him on their horses, and that same cowboy says, "Hi. Oh, so what's going on? What's happening there?" And the Indian says, "Two horses, one black, one white, pulling covered wagon, with family of 4, and wagon loaded with tools for farm, and 2 miles away." And that same cowboy says to his friend, "Did you see what I'm telling you? That's just amazing. He could tell all that just from listening to the ground, and something that's about to happen." And the Indian says, No, half hour ago, they just ran over me." That's a good one. Is that silly enough for you? I love jokes anyway, and I hope you do too. But I just love that premise of, the two cowboys riding through the desert, and there's an Indian with his ear to the ground. And the good audience member, it's me, you, Colonel Jeff, all good ones just say, "Good, now let me hear the joke." No one says, "Well, why are they there? Why is he there? Why is anything this or that?" Who cares? He's there so you can hear a good joke. And as usual, keep it alive. If you like that, tell it to your friends or loved ones and folks at work. And that brings me to my second favorite part of the show, the Poetry Corner. That's beautiful. And, I just realized how we could help cure his cough. Maybe he'll win Larry's money. Sorry. As Colonel Jeff knows, we're good friends, and he didn't have his finger on the button there, and I just thought it would be a funny thing to hear again. It makes me laugh. At any rate, this is a lovely poem called The Cities of the Plain by John Greenleaf Whittier, which is another poet's name, as the Colonel and I have loved saying over the years, that's a good poet's name. You cannot be anything else. John Greenleaf Whittier. I mean, that's you got that name, you're going to be a poet. You're not going to trim trees with that. No, John Greenleaf Whittier. And here it is, The Cities of the Plain. Get ye up from the wrath of God's terrible day. Ungirded, unsandaled, arise and away. 'Tis the vintage of blood, 'tis the fullness of time, and vengeance shall gather the harvest of crime. The warning was spoken, the righteous had gone, and the proud ones of Sodom were feasting alone. All gay was the banquet, the revel was long, with the pouring of wine and the breathing of song. 'Twas an evening of beauty, the air was perfume, the earth was all greenness, the trees were all bloom, and softly the delicate viol was heard, like the murmur of love or the notes of a bird. And beautiful maidens moved down in the dance, with the magic of motion and the sunshine of glance, and white arms wreathed lightly, and tresses fell free as the plumage of birds in some tropical tree, where the shrines of foul idols were lighted on high, and wantonness tempted the lust of the eye, midst rites of obsceneness, strange, loathsome, abhorred, the blasphemer scoffed at the name of the Lord. Hark! The growl of the thunder, the quaking of earth! Woe, woe to the worship, and woe to the mirth! The black sky has opened, there's flame in the air, the red arm of vengeance is lifted and bare. Then the shriek of the dying rose wild, where the song and the low tone of love had been whispered along. For the fierce flames went lightly o'er palace and bower, like the red tongues of demons to blast and devour. Down, down on the fallen the red ruin rained, and the reveller sank with his wine cup undrained. The foot of the dancer the music's loved thrill, and the shout and the laughter grew suddenly still. The last throb of anguish was fearfully given. The last eye glared forth in its madness on heaven. The last groan of horror rose wildly and vain, and death brooded over the pride of the plain. Wow. And that was a happy night for them, by the way. That was their favorite night of the year. Boy, that's a nice poem, isn't it? John Greenleaf Whittier, who was an American poet, by the way, lived from 1807 to 1892. He was a Quaker poet and a strong abolitionist, and he was very well regarded in his lifetime. Thank you, John, for The Cities of the Plain. That brings me to my third favorite part of the show, the Magic Movie Moment. Oh, boy, and this is a terrific movie. It's just great. It's from 1953, and it has just one word, a name in it, Shane. Directed by George Stevens, starring Alan Ladd, Van Heflin, Jean Arthur, Jack Palance, Brandon DeWilde, Elisha Cook Jr., Edgar Buchanan, Nancy Culp, Ben Johnson, the great Ben Johnson, and so many others. It's a wonderful movie. Well, it's about the Old West, and it's after the Civil War. And the cast is terrific, and a stranger comes into town, and He's armed, and he's very capable. And his name is Shane. And that, of course, is starring Alan Ladd. And it's a story of his, the friendship that he starts and that grows with one of the settlers, Van Heflin, a great actor, and Van's wife, Jean Arthur. Oh, she was terrific too. And there's an understory about how, they start to like each other, Jean Arthur and Alan Ladd. He doesn't have anything these people have. He doesn't have a home. And their son, Brandon DeWilde, is a terrific actor. He's just a kid at that point, but just wonderful. And he grows to idolize Shane. And Shane defends them. And Shane stands tall against the bad guys. It's a big, fierce feud they have going on there between ranchers and the settlers. And how it grows and how it moves is very, frightening and very tense. But Alan Ladd is ready for it. And they hire a great gunfighter at the time, where the ranchers chip in and hire Jack Palance, who plays the biggest, meanest gunfighter in the whole Old West. And he comes there. Boy, Jack Palance has always been great, but he plays terrific bad guys. And he, as this guy, the gunfighter, and he is, and as Alan Ladd said, as Shane says to Brandon DeWilde, yes, he's fast, mighty fast, fast on the draw. But so is Shane. He's fast with his fists, and he is, but always as a knight in shining armor. He's willing to stand up and be the one who defends all the settlers and fights all the ranchers. And, sure enough, comes to a big gunfight, because they, as I said, they hired Jack Palance to gun down Shane. And before that he guns down another settler. And he's very tough. He's very frightening. He gets on and off his horse very slowly, because he's always looking around to see who's there and see who's watching and see who he can watch. And that big gunfight, after all the fighting and all the hemming and hawing, comes down to Shane coming into the tiny, tiny town there. And it's just a couple of little buildings. And he goes into the general store, which is owned by the bad guy, which is also a bar owned by the bad guy. And they're waiting for him. And Jack Palance is there. And folks, they go through wolfing, they used to call it, with pool players. A friend of mine told me that, where one says one thing and one says the other, and one is trying out to see if he can get through just by little insults to do this and that. But we know, we want to know what's going to happen, of course, but we know Shane doesn't get scared, and Shane doesn't get thrown. And this guy, that gunfighter, is ready. And there's another fella Shane doesn't know about, who's just up on the terrace there inside the general store. It's on the second floor, and it's just a place where he has a rocking chair. But he's up there, and he's got a shotgun. And that's his plan, to gun down Shane also, cut him in half with that scatter gun. And it's a terrific scene, folks. And it's very exciting and very moving. And Shane, at the right time, the gunfighter, makes his move and draws, and Shane guns him down. Shane beats him. And sure enough, the guy with the shotgun, stands and starts to fire, and Shane kills him too. But Shane was wounded along the way also. And he's got lead in him. And he's so tough, he gets out, walks out with Brandon DeWilde having seen the whole thing. And he walks out and gets on his horse, which was not easy to do, and swings his leg up there and has a parting word to Brandon. And there's a lot of thought that's been put into the scene in the movie of just, he's going, I guess that's it. He's leaving. And he starts to go away and ride off. And it's pretty late at night. It's close to midnight anyway, but he's leaving. And some folks think, well, there's a great shot of him a little slumped over, riding away and getting up into the mountain trails there, as Brandon DeWilde yells after him, "Shane! Come back, Shane!" Which is the first time I know of that device was used, of someone calling after a hero that they all just loved. "Shane! Come back, Shane!" And there's a great shot of Shane clip-clopping along, and it's dark on the path there, and he's a little slumped over, and some folks think he's dead. He died in the saddle there. But I don't. I never did. I just think he was wounded, but he's Shane, and he's too tough to go that way. In any case, folks, it's a wonderful movie, and that's a great magic movie moment. Whew. The big gunfight. And see it. If you've never seen Shane, wow, do it. And if you have, like me, if you've seen it 20 times, see it again. Everyone in it is terrific, including Elisha Cook Jr. Oh, all of them. But no one is prettier or more earthy or more wonderful than Jean Arthur as Mrs. Starrett, and her husband, of course, Van Heflin, Joe Starrett, and they're all terrific. See it and let us know. I bet I know what you'll let us know. And you know what, though? It reminded me, as we passed the last couple of days, we just had May 5th. Of course, that's the 5th of May, obviously the day after the 4th and the day before the 6th. But it's also known as Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May in Spanish, and it's a big Mexican holiday for, well, all the folks in the United States. They're very proud of it. Oh, they go wild for Cinco de Mayo. In fact, Colonel Jeff was saying before he came out here to Milleronia that he was driving with some old friends up the coast, and they were going to go to Santa Barbara. And as he said, someone in a big, flashy, low car roared by, and was a guy in it, a young man, and he was screaming, "Happy Cinco de Mayo!" Even though it was, well, the 3rd of May at that point. But Happy Cinco de Mayo. And you know what it reminded me, folks? And maybe it'll remind you. I don't think anyone knows what Cinco de Mayo is. And I'll bet you $1 that the fella in that car didn't know what Cinco de Mayo is. It's not a giant holiday in Mexico. It's not really very popular or noticed that much at all in Mexico. But, well, it celebrates something, and most of you and I'll bet also the whole Mexican community in our country, in the United States, doesn't know either. Everyone would call it, well, it's Mexican Independence Day, isn't it? Well, no. And it's about the revolution, the Mexican Revolution against Spain, right? Well, no. It has nothing to do with anything like that. And it's about the Battle of Puebla, which happened on, May 5th, 1862. And the British and Spanish and French governments had sent emissaries and soldiers into Mexico there to negotiate for new rights of theirs on the trade agreements they had. And the Mexican government at the time, made a deal with the British and a deal with the Spanish, so they left. But the French, who were at that time ruled by Napoleon III, decided that, I don't think we're going to leave. Let's just take Mexico. Let's just conquer it. And they were near a city, a very small city called Puebla. And the Mexican general Zaragoza leads his outnumbered men in a victory over France. They were, hiding in ditches, and they really messed the French up. And the French had sent thousands of folks over you know how they did it in those days, with big bright uniforms and marching in straight lines and on horseback. And the Mexican army at that point just crushed the French army, which was, by the way, huge. I mean, they just, that was really not expected at all. And the Mexicans at the time were so happy. They celebrated so much. And that's what Cinco de Mayo is, the Battle of Puebla. And now, because, of course, history is often very odd and ironic, exactly a year later, the French came back. And this time, they were ready for Freddy. And they absolutely, they destroyed the Mexican army and everyone in it. And went to Mexico City as well and took that and, conquered Mexico. And that was, not part of the holiday now. And I'm not sure, as I said, I'm not sure anyone knows what it's for. But now you do. So the 5th of May in 1862, otherwise known as Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, was about the Battle of Puebla. The first one, anyway. I'll bet they wouldn't make a holiday out of the second one. In any case, though, that's, everyone drinks a lot on Cinco de Mayo. And like that fella in the car that roared past Jeff, I bet he was going to have a few. And it made us think. And I started to say, do we have any holidays here in America do we have our own drinking holidays? Anything? One, okay, obviously you all know one, I'm sure. St. Patrick's Day is a holiday. But, I think that's mostly 16 and 20 and 23-year-olds who drink a ton. Far too much. I mean, just a crazy amount. But I'm not sure people know what that holiday stands for. There was a St. Patrick, and a guy who became St. Patrick. And, that's why there are no snakes in Ireland. And there are none. No snakes. Because St. Patrick himself drove all the snakes out. But, that's a holiday that people still, I suppose, their parades. And I remember growing up, all the police would be marching in New York and up Fifth Avenue, and the firemen too. And I remember being a kid saying, we're watching it on TV. And great shots of cameras looking down, and thinking to myself, boy, they love this holiday. Look how happy they are. And their faces are so red. And they were just, loaded. I mean, and why the heck not? Why not? But do we really have our own drinking holiday in America? And the answer is, no, we don't. July 4th, for instance, is our Independence Day. It's very important. and a great story of our history. And some folks might have a beer or two, but they eat far more potato salad and fried chicken. It's not a drinking holiday. I mean, you know this, and I know it. No one ever says, boy, we sure got looped last July 4th. Well, no, you didn't. And so there's nothing really. Memorial Day is another good example. This is a dramatic and vital chance to visit the graves and thank so many of our soldiers who gave their lives to defend us. But most folks don't do that. They just go buy a mattress. And most folks, I don't think, sadly, do that at all. They do in Israel on their Memorial Day. I've always loved that they, at the exact same moment, everyone in the entire country stops and stands in respect. And that includes cars on freeways and people in cities and get off bicycles, and they stand there, and at the exact same second, and a horn goes off, and then it goes silent, and everyone in the country goes silent. And they, in respect to all of their families who have been killed and protecting their country. And so we don't have that for ourselves. Again, no one is going to go to a bar and have a couple of chicken wings at the buffet and drink a bunch on Memorial Day. Shouldn't we have something where we all drink? The Colonel and I were wondering. I mean, President's Day? Well, no. I mean, nobody is going to exactly toast Garfield. But I mean, New Year's Eve is the only one that's lasted. Okay, we all know that. New Year's Eve is a night where people can, get drunk, and they have a ton to drink, in fact. And that's been kind of the tradition for a long, long time. You know it, and I know it. And, well, that's fine, but it's not. It's, once again, I think it's younger folks. I don't think that's people in their 40s and 50s who just go out and get just snockered. I think it's more the 21 to 25-year-olds, and that's fine. But you get the point. I don't think we have these things, and, well, I don't think we need them. I'd like us to observe, and I'd like us to know what the observations mean. And if we had a Cinco de Mayo, I would hope everyone knows what it is, because you and I know the same things. Homer is Homer, and Pluto is a planet. So remember, folks, as always, if you walked out of bed today and had a job to go to and a home to come back to and someone who cares about you, folks, the game's over and you've won. And that's every day of the year, not just Cinco de Mayo. Be well, and we'll see you here next time.